Want to stay up to date with everything that's happening on the show? Or do you have a story that you'd like to submit for one of our Listener Stories episodes? You can get in touch with the show via the website at www.hauntedukpodcast.com, on Instagram at hauntedukpodcast, on X at hauntedukpod, or you can email us at contactus@hauntedukpodcast.com. We're also on Facebook and TikTok. And if you want to support the show, you can do it via either Patreon or Ko-fi. Both platforms have exactly the same content, but work in slightly different ways. One of the advantages of Patreon is its sleek user interface, but if you want to avoid those pesky additional charges Apple, Google, and Patreon apply to your subscription, then why not give Ko-fi a try? Simply open a browser window and type ko-fi/Haunted UK Podcast. That's Ko-fi/Haunted UK Podcast, and you'll soon find us. Whichever platform you choose, we're sure you'll enjoy the bonus content. Thanks for listening, and enjoy the episode. This is the Haunted UK Podcast's Short Haunts. Welcome, dear listeners, to our series of short haunts. A shot of scary, just for you. So grab a hot chocolate, maybe a tea, maybe something stronger, because this is Haunted UK Podcast's Short Haunts. George, at number 4. We all love a good ghost story about a haunted house. The scares, the fear, the paranoia. So many of the tales which we've told, including the countless amazing listener stories, sometimes have elements of relationships breaking down because of paranormal phenomena. One person in a relationship will see or experience things, whilst the other doesn't, leading to some very tense, awkward, and sometimes destructive moments. This short haunt is different, in the fact that both people in this particular relationship do see things, experience things, witness things, at the same time. A multiple witness case is a very rare thing, but the following story sent in by Kelly is simply fascinating. Occurrences in a Victorian semi-detached house. Occurrences which actually seem to not only follow the couple, but may also have roots with a much-loved relative who had passed away. So we invite you to knock on the door as we face George at number 4. We'll let Kelly take over from here. I listen to your podcast and await new episodes eagerly. I love to get lost in the stories on my commute or when I'm doing DIY at home. I wanted to share my story, well, one of my stories. I've had odd happenings all my life, and I'm sharing this because recent experiences have made me reflect. No. 4 High Street is located in a sleepy little village in East Yorkshire, where it overlooks a river and a town in the distance. A 2-up, 2-down spacious old Victorian semi-detached house, built in 1871, with tall ceilings and odd-shaped rooms that are parallelogram. The only rooms that were square resided in the small extension built in the early 90s to house a utility room and bathroom. It was an odd house, but it felt like home. Me and my partner Charlie moved into number 4 in 2013 in our early 20s. It was our first house together, which we rented and then bought from the landlady. It was all a bit fast, as I was to become homeless after caring for my dying grandfather, who had raised me when my mother died. We settled in, learning to live together and build a new life. The reason I'm comfortable sharing things that happened in number 4 is that, unlike a lot of things I experienced previously, I had a witness to some of these: my wife. It doesn't just help validate the experience, but also confirms, I hope, that I am neither imagining, embellishing, or schizophrenic. The downstairs consisted of the living room as you entered the house and the kitchen, then a small one-story extension containing the utility and bathroom, as mentioned earlier. The living. We always sat in the kitchen to eat, to watch telly, to talk. Very rarely did we sit in the front room. It was not only a cold room, but a room with a heavy atmosphere. One of the first decisions we made as a couple was to get a husky. Now, this husky was playful, full of energy, but she would stop and stare at a corner of the room by the fireplace. Not just stare, but lightly huff and puff, half growling. At first, we thought it was a spider or a fly that was making her react this way, but I could never find anything. We brushed it off until we got her a friend about 4 to 6 months later. And very strangely, he would do exactly the same thing: huff, puff, and stare at this corner. The utility room. We eventually started to decorate and make a home on a tight budget. A bit like the house, our decorating choices were a bit quirky and odd. We began to notice little things here and there, such as the strange phenomenon which occurred every time we would decorate. We would smell cigar smoke in the utility room. We would both smell it for a few minutes, then it would disappear. Neither of us smoked, and cigar smoke is a very distinctive smell. Again, we brushed it off until we saw a pattern. Whenever we decorated or changed something significant, we would smell this cigar smoke. We started to joke at this point that someone didn't approve of our quirky taste. The kitchen. At this point, our jobs involved working shift patterns, which included shifts throughout the day. Whichever one of us happened to be on late shifts, getting home at night, that person would sleep on the couch in the living room, so as not to disturb the other. One night, after coming in late, I fell asleep on the couch, but was soon woken up by the noise of hearing someone downstairs. I initially assumed it was Charlie, and she had come downstairs to the toilet, but I soon realized it wasn't her. The footsteps sounded like men's workman boots with heavy soles. I could hear this person walking around the wooden kitchen floor. I could hear the sound of a teaspoon clinking against a mug, as if a cup of tea was being made. At this point, all the hairs on my arms and neck were up, and I genuinely thought we had an intruder. I was terrified, holding my breath, as if my breath would alert them to my presence in the next room. I heard the footsteps come closer, through the small hallway until they reached the carpet. Then, quiet. I could see no one by the light of the television. I searched the downstairs and no one was there. It couldn't have been from the attached house number 6, because at that point in time, it was empty and had been for around 5 years. I told this to Charlie the next day, and she laughed and told me I must have still been dreaming and was half asleep. A few weeks later, Charlie had come in from a late shift and went to sleep on the sofa. She woke up and messaged me saying, "Are you downstairs?" I was awake and replied, "No." I came downstairs and she said, "I heard exactly what you heard. Footsteps, the clinking of a teaspoon, and then the feet stopping at the carpet." Whilst this obviously scared Charlie, I felt a sense of relief and said, "I told you so." We both went back to sleep upstairs that night. Sometimes we would come into the kitchen and the cupboard doors would all be open. Regularly, the cupboard doors that boxed in the electricity meter would also be open too. After we got married and had our first child, the TV in the kitchen would randomly turn on when no one was in the room. This would happen sometimes when you were awake and sometimes in the middle of the night. This would occur at least 4 to 6 times a week, and originally we believed there was something wrong with the remote control, until the television in the living room started to do the same thing and turn on randomly. I remember we had previously told our neighbour, who lived next door at number 6, about the odd happenings at number 4, and asked if they'd had similar experiences, to which they said they hadn't. Our neighbour actually popped round for a chat one day, and halfway through our conversation, she witnessed the TV turn on by itself. She looked taken aback and wide-eyed, as if the crazy woman next door actually did have a ghost. I smiled and said, "Told you so." Around this time, we would start to refer to the ghost as George, and still do to this day. The boy. My wife was home alone whilst I was at work. She woke up in the middle of the night for no reason and was greeted with a sight she'll never forget. A little boy was stood before her. He was fair-haired with dungarees and was by the fireplace. She said the boy was dirty and dripping in water. She saw him for about 15 seconds, looking at her, before walking out and then disappearing. She said she was calm, not afraid, and even drifted off back to sleep. We later found out that the man married to her maternal grandmother, who grew up in the village, had lost a brother on the riverbank opposite the house in the 1940s. He was 5 years old and was standing on the riverbank watching a boat go by when the wake and the wash of the boat passing swept him into the river. He was later found by his brother in a town 10 miles upriver a few days later. My wife believes this to be the boy she saw. The nightmare. I had again come in from an evening shift and had a quick turnaround due to staff sickness, so I slept on the sofa due to an early start. This particular incident really scared me. I felt dread and fear and began questioning myself. I was dreaming. In fact, this wasn't a dream. It was a nightmare, the type that feels so real that when you wake up, you struggle to grasp what's actually reality for a few minutes. I rarely have nightmares, and if I do, they are never of this nature. I was a predator, but it wasn't me. It was like I was looking through the eyes of someone doing horrific things. It didn't feel like my body. I felt male in nature. In the dream, I was hunting, stalking someone. I felt primal, bloodthirsty, murderous, carnivorous. I was close to attacking someone in my nightmare. I woke to the noise of a toy going off. It was a preschool toy playing a nursery rhyme. This toy was called a Chase Me Casey, and it was a toy monkey. I got up and looked to turn it off and found it was under the sofa where I was sleeping, exactly underneath me. The room felt heavy, ominous, malevolent. I didn't feel alone, and I could feel the hairs standing up on my arms and neck. My alarm went off a minute later, as if I was intentionally awoken before it. I got ready for work and left very quickly, feeling very uncomfortable and unsettled. I discarded the toy, but never slept in the living room again. My wife would just have to deal with my comings and goings upstairs. I started this story telling you how my grandfather passed away and how I nursed him in the last few moments of his life. This is relevant to this part of the story. There was a breakdown in family connections as my remaining few members of family were toxic. After my grandfather's death, I cut ties and never looked back. I didn't visit his grave for about 8 years, as I just couldn't bring myself to do so. He was and is the last person, excluding my wife, who has ever cared for me truly. When I did visit his grave, I found my auntie, who was the next of kin, had not arranged for his name and details to be added to his grave, which was shared with my grandmother. I felt overcome with grief again, and I was devastated. I cried all the way home. When I finally got home, I was discussing the situation, mainly the personal feelings of guilt I'd had because of not visiting, or knowing his grave did not have his name on it, when suddenly, this red Toy Story balloon from my son's birthday a few days before started moving. It was moving in a very strange way, gently up and down and around, forwards and backwards. The way it was moving was odd, and we both commented on it, and how none of the other foil balloons were doing the same. We continued to talk about the turmoil I felt, and this balloon actually started to come towards me. Whenever I moved, it moved next to me. This balloon then navigated its way out of the room and slowly went upstairs. It went into our room and I followed. We checked for windows being open, drafts, etc. Nothing. This balloon continued to move as if being held. This went on for what felt like hours, but was probably only 45 minutes. I went and laid down on my bed, exhausted from the emotions I was feeling, but then gaining a type of comfort watching this balloon. I fell asleep, watching it move, and when I awoke 20 minutes later, the balloon was on the bed, inches from my face, staring at me. Number 6. My story concludes with us leaving number 4, while planning to extend our family with our last baby. We'd outgrown number 4, and while looking for a property which was big enough to accommodate another member of our family, our neighbours and good friends put number 6 next door on the market. Next door was built exactly like number 4, quirky and odd, but was 3 times the size, with an attached partially converted barn. To go off tangent slightly, I should mention that both number 4 and number 6 had been jointly owned since 1871, right up until the early 1990s. Number 6 was once an electrical shop, and the barn was originally a working thresher barn, which also had a tractor stored inside. Number 6 wasn't as in good condition as number 4, but had bags of potential, something which I still tell myself, and we moved in 2.5 years ago. We have since had our daughter and have always commented on how light the house feels compared to number 4, and have not had any experiences. That was until recently. I'd finished refurbing the rooms upstairs and had recently moved on to the downstairs. Last month, I started to remove layers of wallpaper in the playroom, which was originally the kitchen when the place was built, in preparation for plastering. Some of the old wallpaper looked like it could have possibly been Edwardian. This wallpaper on the ceiling was varnished, which was something done in Victorian and Edwardian times to make it hardy, reduce mold, and to stop damp. Since then, just like at number 4 when we had undertaken decorating or alterations, I've started to see and hear things. Not cigar smoke as with number 4, but other things. Firstly, I heard the sound of cutlery being bunched together, as if in someone's hand and rattling in the drawer. A few nights later, I then heard the sounds of cupboard doors opening and closing, and seeing legs briefly walking into our bedroom as I passed in a rush to give the baby a bottle late at night. Then, in the barn, the pull-string light switch cord being placed over the main wooden beam of the barn. My wife confirmed she didn't put the cord over the beam, and neither did I, but I distinctly remember seeing this light cord being draped over the beam when we first moved in. It has since done this twice more. Only myself and my wife can access the upper barn. Perhaps our ghostly friend George from number 4 has decided to visit. Or maybe number 6 has other guests. I'm not sure what to believe about the paranormal, other than phenomena related to it does happen. There really is something there. Whether it's the stone tape theory, time slips, or classic ghosts, one thing we know for sure is that we're not imagining it. I hope you go on to recant tales worldwide, giving people like me credence in what we experience, that we are not alone, nor are we crazy. Keep on podcasting. Kelly. So there you have it, an incredible series of events encompassing many elements of the paranormal. One very frightening one, but the rest seemingly gentle, reassuring even. So I suppose the question here is, what's going on? Were the strange goings-on inside number 4 and now number 6 related to Kelly's grandfather? A man who was truly loved, truly missed. Was it Kelly's grandfather crossing that boundary of an unknown dimension to make his presence known, felt, to give comfort and closure? Or is it something else? Something that was already inside number 4, but which has now begun to cross into number 6. Something which will continue to watch over the family, which will continue to make itself known, seen, heard, but not to frighten or scare. At least, not yet. So perhaps take stock of your surroundings, for you never know, a friendly spirit, a caring family member in the afterlife may just be there to show you their love and care through foil balloons, TVs, and cutlery drawers perhaps. And if they do, the next person to be the subject of a short haunt could be you.